Live song. We're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another deep and well-balanced and delicious episode of the Overshare Show.
Lots of
Oh,
adjectives
let me
today.
fix this. I was looking at the camera. Oh no. Uh, yeah, welcome back to another episode of the best darn show on the internet. Excuse me. Sorry. The best darn show on the internet, the Oversharing Show.
Indeed.
How are you today, Sharon? How you doing?
I'm much better than I was, I would say, even a week ago. I
Yeah.
was not doing very well.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Sharon was a little under the weather, so we had a episode pre-recorded, so we just premiered that instead of going live.
That was fortuitous, actually.
Yeah.
Spoons is in. Yo, Spoons.
Yo, spoons. I'm just gonna make my yeah, look how got my whoa.
Your
There
woe.
we go. Got my no, it's slowed down. I don't know if it was me or because I was making the window bigger. What's up, spoons? Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, I have my got my desktop computer set back up with my giant monitor, so I'm not using the laptop, which is pretty nice. So let me know, guys, if you notice. Oh, here, let me move this mic a little closer. If you notice any difference or if you have any comments or questions about that, I got my little, just so everybody knows, this is not weed yet. No, it's basil, and we have this little, it's hard to see, um, little planter here with a light on top and herbs sprout up. So I got basil and we got some mint and other things going on over here. So I'm really excited. There's a window here. I just have it kind of covered. It's hard to see with the glare. But anyway, I'm looking
Blue
forward to the
King.
spring. Very excited, but enjoying the winter.
Holy Basil.
Holy basil. No, that's actually in the basement. I have some from last year in a
Yeah,
pot
I
that's
remember.
still I think it's still alive down there, but I check it every once in a while. But even if it doesn't, it'll come back in that pot in the spring. So I'll just take it out of there. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we got these at
Holy
a
Basil.
grocery store.
Holy Diver.
It's organic basil. It was $2. It's supposed to be $3. $2 for this plant, and then I got like a cilantro one and a mint one over there, and they're thriving, killing it. So,
Sweet.
yep. Mhm.
We got Spoons and Blue in the chat.
Oh, what's up, Blue?
Holy Diver.
Are you a survivor? Oh, we have a quote, I bet. Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
This quote, I showed this one to my wife and she loved it. It was I was in here showing her the computer getting set up. All right, so today's quote is everyone interprets everything in terms of his own experience. If you say anything which does not touch a precisely similar spot in another man's brain, he either misunderstands you or doesn't understand you at all.
Ain't that the truth?
Boom.
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I mean, even listen, even if this guy, did 10 times what was said about him in the negative, like it was horrible, you could still take this quote and be like, this shit makes sense. Like this guy gets it, you know? I mean, maybe he
Yeah.
was whatever, but that's why, and this we don't have to beat it with a dead horse or beat it like a whatever.
Beat a dead horse.
We don't have to beat a dead horse with this, but we just obviously it's anybody that you pick has flaws. Like any person in history, they probably have flaws or whatever it was. So we just look at what they say and then discern truth from there and say, hey, Aleister Crowley had some pretty cool things to say here. Let's share it on the show. It doesn't mean we're going to start an Aleister Crowley cult fan
Cult.
club. Although I'm so tempted to start a cult because we've been,
Oh my God.
watching. There's this show, whatever, like these different shows about cults and things, and it's just so interesting to see how it always starts out so great. We've probably talked about this before, but like, and I always feel like I'm the early member to these things. Like I'm
Early
always in,
adopter.
yeah, and I'm like, it's just, and they were talking about something about the born again Christian and Pentecostal church thing, and I was like, oh, I I was involved in one of those little mini cults, those mini neighborhood cults myself. So yeah. But again, I met some great people there, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just a traveler. Sharon and I were just fools. We're just like the fool card going out throughout life trying to figure it out. So no judgments.
Yeah, well, in the deck that I'm shuffling, which is a brand new deck that I got yesterday, it's called the Vision Quest Tarot. It's like more of a Native American feel to it. The
I love it.
full card is actually called the Clown.
Really.
Yeah,
I like that.
but yeah. Um, regarding Aleister's quote, it's very true. You, like we always say on the show, you're going to live your life the way you live it because of your own experience. So, of course, everything that you do or see is going to be in terms of your own experience. But I won't talk too much because my throat's still coming back. So,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No worries. Um, yeah, I could just talk about this. I mean, these are topics we talk about all the time on the show. I think that's why that quote fits so well. Um, I'm just trying to think of all the shows we've done. A lot of times, the common problem with things if we talk about like division and putting people on pedestals and putting them in the pit and stuff like that, a lot of it comes down to miscommunication. It's just a simple miscommunication. You say one thing, someone else hears you say another thing, and it just, then you're off to the races because it's like everyone's outraged and pissed off and like, oh, I was talking actually earlier to Elizabeth earlier today about this topic, and it's like, if you texting is this is what we were talking about, like texting. If you get a message from somebody, you can read it in a certain way, like, oh no, like they're mad. It doesn't, and or you can read it a totally different way. And I was like, try reading some of your texts just in a silly way, right?
yeah,
So I was like
laughter.
reading some text that could look mean, and I'm like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah. So,
That's very true.
miscommunication, who knows that? I think that's the core root of everything that's going on in this realm. Which is fine. Oh, the issues, one of them, but it's fine. Again, we're not sitting here crying about it. But I think obviously for myself, I try to just speak as clearly as I can. And when I hear other people, I just try to think to myself, like, what are they communicating? And this is something I say all the time. When you're talking, you just have this picture in your head, right? You have this picture of what you want to say, and you try either to describe something or tell somebody something. So you have this picture, and then you're relying on words to communicate it to another person. It's one of the worst ways to try to communicate things is through these words that are so limited. Especially if it's like a big idea or a big picture thing. That's why art is great. And music and stuff, right? Because you can communicate these ideas much more thoroughly in a nice packaged thing instead of these silly words that I'm trying to use right now, right? So, that's how I look at it when I can remember. Of course, we're preaching to the choir, so but when we can remember, we're like, well, what is this person really trying to say? Like, is he really trying to tell me to fuck off? Like, he said fuck off, but does he mean no?
Yeah, I've been trying to, even if like people, if even if there's like hearsay, like somebody says, oh, my brother XYZ or so and so did this or whatever, and he's being this way, you can always look at a situation like that with compassion and recognize that people, again, are acting of their own experience. So we don't know what they went through and why they're behaving the way they did. Maybe they've been through so much trauma and they're dealing with it differently than their own sibling would because each person's different. Um, so, despite what someone else might say about them, maybe they're not being jerks. That's just how they're interpreting their world. And that's the best way that they can handle things is to whatever, ignore it or um, or however they react, however they act.
Yep. Yeah, and remember, it's all about the division between the internal and the external worlds. That's what we're talking about here. So, um, hey, kitty, there's a kitty
Well,
behind me.
I pulled a card.
Yeah, what do you got?
I think this is the devil card. Number 15. I have it in the Rider Waite just so you could,
Oh yeah, nice.
but
I'm gonna pin you for a minute, and then I'm gonna be quiet.
so
All
it's
right,
called
we're
Torment.
perfect. This way people can get an idea.
You could see the sunset in the distance, maybe sunrise, but he's tied to a pole. So maybe he's being sacrificed or he's going to be burned like a witch.
Yeah, I like that card. I like how you're seeing from the back because you're getting his view of what he's seeing. Everyone else is seeing him on a stake about to burn, but he's seeing the sky. It looks like there's water too. And his hands behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wonder how it can symbolize it. Is there a book that goes with it?
Yeah. There's a card. It's card number 15. And it's called Torment. So let's see what the book says. Thanks for reminding me. I kind of forgot about the book.
No
It
worries.
says, okay, it relates to the devil. Ego, sorry, in essence, ego bondage, attachment, identification with matter, greed and possessiveness, envy, fear, inflexibility on many levels. Inner message. If you use your energy mainly to fulfill the endless variety of your ego's desires, you tie yourself to an internal whipping post. Look at how you bind yourself and to what? What
Wow.
notions enslave you? Wow. So, like attachments, huh? Binding yourself is like an attachment.
Yeah, I like that.
What opinions have you taken on as your own without questioning? Remember how much is simply self created and recreated by endlessly repeating restrictive thoughts. Example, the thought of not being good enough or not getting enough. Sorry, the thought of not being good enough or not getting enough creates fear. You identify with this bundle of fear, and from now on, it colors all your experiences. What were we talking about? Experiences. If you
Colors all your
recognize this mental loop, you can break out of it, but not with force, only with more awareness. You stop recreating the loop by withdrawing your attention, and thus the life force it needs to repeat itself. We all keep the restless phantoms of our ego desires alive for so long only because we continuously feed them with fresh energy. Here's your chance to recognize this bondage and awaken from nightmare. And there's an outward manifestation. The outer world faithfully reflects what has a hold on us. Everything you cling to sticks to you. Possessiveness is just a form of being possessed. You have latched onto something. Energy stagnates. Its flow has been blocked. This is what binds you to the whipping post of egotism. The ego always demands more of only the good stuff, and it still will never be satisfied. However you try, it will never be enough. So jump in consciousness from possessing to making use of.
Uh-oh. Did we lose her? Am I still alive? All right. Well,
Elation.
I just adjusted my screen because I was looking. Oh, there you are. Are you
Uh-oh.
back?
Yeah.
I think I lost you for a second.
Oh shoot. Yeah, it says my connection is unstable. Sorry guys. Well, I don't know because I show like full bars on my Wi-Fi.
That's weird. It was only about 10 seconds, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay. Well, I won't keep reading that.
My cat. Hang on What are you doing, kitty? Cats are crazy.
You
That's all I
do.
gotta say. Interesting card though for what's been going on and what we've been talking about. Like it kind of lines up with what you're saying about the attachments and stuff. Did we lose her again? Am I talking to myself? I think we lost her again. Let's see if she comes back, everybody. Maybe she could restart whatever. In the meantime, I could do a commercial if you guys are interested and you like what you see here. You can subscribe.
Okay.
And if you like it, hit the like
Okay.
button. But we don't want you to just randomly hit the like button. You know, only if you like it. We don't want you to lie. Go ahead. You're back.
Am I still back? I'm gonna see if I can close some windows here because
All right,
I
from the
don't want
windows. I was just doing a quick commercial. So more laws, more problems.com's the website. You can go there, click on the oversharing tab, and get all your oversharing needs.
yeah, let
So I was
me
just saying that, and then I realized you were frozen. It's like I think this card is very, it fits in with what we've been talking about a lot recently with attachments. And it really gives you, I like it because it gives you another idea about the devil card because so many people are scared about the devil. It's evil. These bad things are going to happen. But here, according to this Native American wisdom in this tarot, they're just saying it's all about attachments.
mm,
You know, and
mhm.
your fear is because you're going to lose whatever you're attached to. That's the fear. And I mean, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And then when you don't care about it anymore, it seems like that's when it's abundant. That's when it comes. You're like, I don't care anymore. And then you're like, oh, here you go. Here's all you want. And I was actually thinking about that recently because Ram Dass talks about this a lot with powers. He's like, you know, as your level of consciousness um rises and these things happen, he's like, you start to gain these powers. And you know, Sharon and I have talked about cities before, these powers, city, where like monks have allegedly, and there's even a video of like started paper on fire, which is their hands and all these things. And people talk about like levitation, but the powers, and that's what I originally thought of when I heard Ram Dass talking about this stuff. But the powers that I'm thinking of now as I'm doing this, it's like it's just the power to see the world in a different way. And it's because of compassion and maybe because you did elevate your consciousness. Now he was saying you have to await these powers. You can't just hold on to them and because you get attached. And what that makes me think of is as you get this knowledge sometimes in you know it's like the spiritual ego that you gain. Sharon and I have talked about this. It's like you get rid of your physical ego, you think, and then you build up the spiritual ego because you're getting into all this knowledge and you find out about you know, repression, and you find out about um what's the other one when you projection, right? When you're projecting things out into the world. So then you start to point the finger at everyone else and you're like, oh, they're just projecting. They're just doing that. So you're slowly putting yourself on your own pedestal and you don't even realize it. And I think that's where the spiritual ego comes in. And that's the power that he could be talking about because you have this power over other people. And then you can use that to manipulate them if you want. And it doesn't even have to be a conscious thing. It could be unconsciously. You could be manipulating people around you because of this stuff. And that would be a power that you had. And then to let it go is to just not get attached to it. Be like, oh, you know what? I could see, it feels like I could see a little better than some people around me. You know, like in 2020, I felt that way. In other ways too, even when it comes down to just simple behaviors or relationships with other people and the way that they interact, you could be like, oh, you could see other people miscommunicating and having fights and stuff, and just be like, oh, I'm just so much better than them or whatever. That's the ego part. Or you could just again let it go and just be like, all right, well, this is just how I see it. I guess that's cool. You know, good for me, but it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna try to keep raising my consciousness, or you know, not judge these people or whatever, just because I see the flaws that they have and all this stuff. So I think that's where those are the powers that nobody really talks about that you gain. And it's not like when you let it go, you lose it. It just means that you're not attached to it. So whatever this power is, and like I said, a lot of it is that sight. It's kind of like you're above everyone else and you get a better frame of what's going on. But it doesn't mean that they're
Absolutely.
bad and you're good. That's really all I'm saying. Right?
Totally.
Totally.
Well, what do you think? Shall we read
Yeah, we shall.
from the
Shall
Tao?
we? All right, let me see here. Let me bring it up. So we're doing verse 7 right now, which is
Hmm?
really cool. Because you know how we like numbers on the Over Sharon show, everybody.
It's
All right.
144 today, episode 144.
Oh, cool. Look at how big it is now. I wonder if I could, what, let me just try something, everybody. I'm going to adjust this to see if I can get it in a little better. Oh, yeah. Come on. Sorry. Oh, maybe not. I don't know what it will do. All right, no worries. Okay, we're going to share this again. It might look a little better. There we go. All right. So if you're new, welcome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And what we do here is every time we cover the Tao, we have 4 different versions and we read through them. And after that, we go back and break them all down. So we're going to read through, I'm going to start with Stephen Mitchell from 1988. As it acts in the world, the Tao is like the bending of a bow. The top is bent downward, the bottom is bent up. It adjusts excess and deficiency so that there is a perfect balance. It takes from what is too much and gives to what isn't enough. Those who try to control, who use force to protect their power, go against the direction of the Tao. Wow. They take from those who don't have enough and give to those who have far too much. The master can keep giving because there is no end to her wealth. She acts without expectation, succeeds without taking credit, and doesn't think that she is better than anyone else.
Mm.
I didn't even read
Holy
these guys, just so
freaking
you know.
smokes.
I did not read these ahead of time. All right. Well, we're gonna break them down, guys. Don't worry. Stick
Yeah,
around.
and when I read this was like weeks ago when I put this together. So,
Yeah, you sent this to me a while ago.
all right, Dwight Goddard entitles this verse 77 Tao of Heaven. Tao of Heaven resembles the stretching of a bow. The mighty it humbles, the lowly it exalts. They who have abundance it diminishes and gives to them who have need. That is Tao of Heaven. It depletes those who abound and completes those who lack. The human way is not so. Men take from those who lack to give to those who already abound. Where is the man who by his abundance can best serve the world? The wise man makes but claims not. He accomplishes merit, yet is not attached to it. Neither does he display his excellence. Is it not so?
Is it not so? All right. I think it's working now. I don't, because before it wasn't, but maybe it was the thing on my laptop. Because remember we were talking about it not going back and forth between us. All right.
Oh, okay. Now I see you. Okay.
Yeah, and I have none. But okay, so Stan Rosenthal, The Way of the Tao. The Tao is as supple as a bow, probably a bow, like a bow or like a bow for a tree, or maybe even a bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Tao is as supple as a bow, the high made lower and the lowly raised. It shortens the string which has been stretched.
It's a bow, like a
Yeah,
bow
it's a
and
bow.
arrow.
It's a bow and lengthens that which has become too short. It is the way of the Tao to take from those who have a surplus to what they need, providing for those without enough. The way of the ordinary person is not the way of the Tao. For such people take from those who are poor. Possessions are none. Therefore he gives to the world without recognition, doing his work. In this way he accomplishes that which is required of him, without dwelling upon it in any way. He gives of his wisdom without display. Ooh, it's a little poetic there at the end.
Mm. All right. Aleister Crowley. The way of heaven. The Tao of Heaven. So he's similar to Dwight's. The Tao of Heaven is likened to the bending of a bow, whereby the high part is brought down and the low part raised up. The extreme is diminished and the middle increased. This is the way of heaven, to remove excess and to supplement insufficiency. Not so is the way of man, who taketh away from him that hath not, to give to him that hath already excess. Who can employ his own excess to the weal of all under heaven? Only he that possesseth the Tao. So the wise man acteth without lust of result, achieveth and boasteth not. He willeth not to proclaim his greatness.
Nice. I'm just writing a note here. All right. So I like how this one's nice and long here toward the end. And it seems again like they're putting these ideas together that we've talked about before earlier in the Tao. So now we're it's getting very, putting some of these ideas together and get nice and complicated. And they all seem to pretty much stay close to the same thing here. So should be a good
Yeah, they're all
breakdown.
very, very similar.
All right. Let's bring it up. Um, so I did, there's a note out when I get to it, but this second part here, this reminds me of Robin Hood, steal from the rich and take for the, like,
Mhm.
so I just wanted to,
Yeah.
uh, the way of the Tao. I guess we could do the first part in each one and then go back to the second. The Tao is as supple as a bow, the high made lower and the lowly raised. Oh no, this is Dan Rosenthal. I'm sorry. Stephen Mitchell. Here we go. There's a breakdown. So, as it acts in the world, the Tao is like the bending of a bow. The top is bent downward and the bottom is bent up. So, um, I like this. Well, let me read the second part too. It adjusts excess and deficiency so that there's perfect balance. And that's really
Didn't
what
we
we
just
talk
talk
about in the
about,
Tao.
you said it was going to be a well balanced episode?
Yeah, I did. I, in fact, did say those things.
Holy smokes.
And I like this because, and we'll get, I guess we can get into this a little later, but the way that they say the middle gets more in the outside kind of diminishes, right? So, but here in this verse, he's saying it's more of a balance, and that's how it's done. But I like it because there's so many metaphors there, right? For the bow. It's so cool. I don't know what I
Yeah.
was going to say exactly, but so yeah, it adjusts excess and deficiency so that there is perfect balance. It takes from what is too much and gives to
Sorry.
what is
Maybe that's a
enough.
typo. I didn't double check.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, it's just this as it acts in the world, and remember that's important too. In the world, that's the physical, right? So they're saying as you see the physical manifestation of the Tao of the way that things are, this is what's going to happen. It's just constant balancing, right? Things that are too much, they're going to come back down. Things are going to rise. It's like in the Bible when it says the first shall be last and the last shall be first.
I was going to mention that.
Oh, darn it.
No, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
good.
no, it's cool. We both,
Matthew
yeah.
20, verse 16. Matthew 20:16 talks
Mm.
about the last will be first and the first will be last.
Yeah, so that's really cool because you can even take this concept if you're ever in a long line, and you can be like, oh man, I remember one time I was going to see a comedian, Lewis Black, way back in the early 2000s, and there was a line to go see him afterwards. You could talk to him, and I was at the end of the line, so it took forever. But when I got up there, everyone
You
else
were,
was gone.
yeah. And you were the last to see him, so you could spend more time with him,
Yeah, it was
probably.
like me and one other person. I got him to record the my voicemail message, so when people called me, it was like, "Hi, this is Lewis Black. You reached Brandon. He's not around." Like it was really cool. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
sometime and that's what it was. And the first person to go through probably just got a quick autograph and a handshake and was out of there. So you never know,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you got to stick around. We have this rule called the 5 minute rule. You never know. If we're gonna leave a place you're hanging out, just wait 5 minutes because you never know what's gonna happen.
um, I thought of this parable in the Bible that Jesus talks about because it's different. It's kind of the opposite. Um it's the parable of the talents in Matthew 25:29. It says, "For to everyone who has will will more be given, and he will have an abundance, but from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." You can look at it that way too. That's a different uh, view, a different approach. Um,
Yeah, because what are they talking about, right? Like what is going to be taken? And so you could say if somebody has a worldview that encompasses everything with compassion and whatever, looking at
like
both
let's say
sides
the
kind
law
of
of
thing.
one type stuff, like 51% positive.
Yes. And then if that's the case, then everything you see in the world is not going to diminish from, it's not going to make you sad or drain your energy because you have this way of looking at it like, oh, it's just what's meant to be. It's going to happen. It's going to work itself out on the spiritual plane on that level. It's going to be fine. So then,
You'll get more of that.
exactly. And then if you have this worldview where everything is terrible, I mean, especially, I don't even want to know what would happen if you turned on the news these days. They probably just be like, we're all going to die. I saw something about an asteroid. Yeah, it's like, okay. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe.
The
But even if it
ones who
does,
have to polarize what is it, 95%
to be negative.
negative?
Yeah. Yep. And maybe that's why we keep coming back and back because we're stuck. People are stuck in between 50% positive and then down to
Yeah.
negative like 90 whatever percent. So the people that are negative
94.
just have keep getting negative and negative and negative. Like it just keeps getting it's like builds on top of it exponentially until they either have like a, wake up moment, a dark night of the soul where they're sick of doing all this stuff, or they just go for it and they're like the evil or whatever the most negative they can be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which makes me, I don't know, it's kind of makes me think of like people who accused Aleister Crowley of being like the most evil man or whatever. But I don't know what he did that was so evil. Like I honestly don't know.
Oh,
Like
some people say that he was like involved in sacrificing children and all this stuff,
really?
like, or maybe even sexual stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's what I hear. I don't know, obviously. But I think the guy that was talking to Michael Tessarion in that famous clip, I think that's what he mentioned too, something like that. So that's why it's tough when you're talking about it, because if somebody has that, if they think he's the Satanist who is like torturing children, they're going to be like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, that's the thing too. It's like, do do I have to know about all the negative things someone does in order to just think of them as just another human being and
Yeah,
have
because if we
compassion
came
on them?
across a quote, it's not like we're quoting him just because he's Aleister Crowley. Like if we came across a quote that was by him that we didn't resonate with or we thought wasn't right, we wouldn't share it on the show,
Yeah, we
So it's
wouldn't
not like,
quote it.
we're not just by putting a quote at him at the beginning, everybody, we're not saying, oh yeah, he's fine. It's our stamp of approval. We're just like, look at this thing, this is an interesting thing that was said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway,
Side topic.
no, don't be. All right, you
Should I
could
read
want
the Dwight Goddard one?
yeah, let me bring it up.
The first half?
Yeah.
All right, very similar to Stephen Mitchell's. It's called Tao of Heaven. Tao of Heaven resembles the stretching of a bow. The mighty it humbles, the lowly it exalts. So yeah, the top of the bow is, the mighty, and it brings it low so that it humbles the mighty, and the lowly it exalts. Right. It's just like that, the last shall be first, the first shall be last. They who have abundance, it diminishes and gives to them who have need. That is Tao of Heaven. It depletes those who abound and completes those who lack. You complete me.
Nice. So I feel like this is pretty similar, I
Mm-hmm.
guess you could say, to the other one. So I mean,
Yeah.
really, could just move on to the next one. Stan Rosenthal, the way of the Tao. The Tao is as supple as a bow, the high made lower and the lowly raised. I like how he puts it here, though, like, because it's kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
first shall be last, last shall be first type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It shortens the string which has been stretched and
Can't see
lengthens
that
that.
you're
Yeah,
when you
I just
highlight.
noticed it.
Sorry.
I wonder. Oh, you know why? Because it's on dark mode. I think the dark theme.
Yeah,
I'll
you
fix
changed the highlight. I mean, sorry, the
this.
dark mode. Sorry.
I changed the theme. So, but I could actually here change it right back. I like it because here we go. Let's see if this makes it better. Nope, still doing it. All right, I'll have to mess with it later. All right, so it is the way that Tao to take from those who have a surplus. Oh, that's what I was saying. It lengthens that. Okay, so it
It short.
shortens. Right here, we're going from here. It shortens the string which has been stretched and lengthens that which has become too short. So it evens everything out. Oh, bow, if you have a string that's all beat up, it'll get it taut again. And then, oh no, I had that wrong. Sorry. Yeah, if it's stretched, it'll shorten it up. I don't understand how it makes sense. It shortens the string which has been stretched. Oh, okay, so when you flex the bow, that's all right. All right. So I think they're talking about the motion of the bow. Because when you stretch it out, like when you pull it back and stretch it.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I'm gonna stop sharing here. When you pull it back and stretch it, it lengthens it, and then you let it go, and it brings it right back to center. Very interesting. What came first, though, the Tao or the bow? Like it's an interesting
Yeah, of
concept.
course.
Yeah. So I wonder what analogy they were using before there was a bow. Or could it be that it all came at the same time? I know that's crazy, but maybe it just appeared
There
all at
is no
once.
time.
Yeah. Maybe the chicken and the egg appeared together, you know? That's what it is, right? Everyone's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? They came
Both
together.
did.
They just appeared. Could it be they just appeared in this magical realm? I don't know. We're getting crazy
Oh,
now. All right. So yeah, that's it's pretty much saying the same thing here, just in a better way. Of course, a more wordy way. Yes, it is the way of the Tao to take from those who have a surplus to what they need, providing for those without enough. So, and again, what are they talking about? Are they talking about money or food or spiritual knowledge and wisdom or,
mm,
a worldview kind of thing? So I don't know.
yep. Be any
All
of
right.
those things.
I'll bring up the Crowley one for you. Crowley.
Crowley entitles this The Way of Heaven. The Tao of Heaven is likened to the bending of a bow, whereby the high part is brought down and the low part raised up. The extreme is diminished and the middle increased. This is the way of heaven, to remove excess and to supplement insufficiency. And
All
I mean,
right.
it's pretty much saying the same thing.
One thing though that I did want to note, there's a slight difference just in the wording, but it reminds me of politics because they're talking about he talks about the extreme is diminished and the middle is increased. So think about the way politics work. You have these extreme ends, and that's really what
Like a
um
parabola,
yeah, or like an
like when it
Overton
goes like
window.
that.
Yeah. Or like a bell curve kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A bell
So
curve.
the ends are lower on the part of the chart, right? And the middle's higher because more people in the middle are going to do things or not. There's extreme means extreme, therefore it's less people. So in politics, that's kind of how the Overton window moves. Like, you have one side pushing for for something really hard and they go like super extreme and Then people finally get sick of it and they're just like, all right, let's get rid of it. So they get rid of it, but things stay that weren't there before. Like television, right?
Mhm.
Janet Jackson, Super Bowl, her boob pops out. There's like a nipple clamp. You can't really even see anything. I was actually watching it live. And then everyone freaks out, right? No longer you can't have this stuff on TV and all this stuff. And then it just like gets worse. I guess that's a bad example. I don't know where I was going with that one. But that's kind of how when something's too much. Oh, I guess we could say is like they're like the nipple was too much, so that's it. We're cutting it. But then when you watch TV now, everyone's wearing like lingerie,
Yeah.
and like tiny little
And like
bathing suits and
HBO
stuff.
has, topless scenes all the time everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, HBO has always, and Skinemax, they've always had their. But think about just like regular TV and what the public and what is it, the FCC would allow before, and then you have this incident where oh my God, there's a breast on live TV and a kid could have saw it, right? And everyone freaks out. But yet still, if you look back to that point to now, TV has still gotten degraded and people wearing less and less clothes. Yeah, you might not exactly see the nipple or whatever, but it's like, okay,
And
as
even
everything's
and
so
even that, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so that's kind of how things get pushed. And that's just an example. That's not exactly political without trying to like
Yeah,
start fights here.
but like even that is just a social thing. What would you call it? Like um
A taboo or a social,
yeah, a social taboo
rule.
that like you go to other countries where people live as part of nature and they don't wear hardly any clothes. Maybe where they wear a loincloth, and that's it. But like and they're not like, oh, my son can see that woman's boobs because they could see their own mom. They could see anybody's. Like anybody's just walking around like that because it's natural. And like we've made it such taboo, so even that is just like silly. Like they make rules so that they can take them away so that they can, yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, or maybe, the rules make themselves because of people's behavior, right? It's like, what is it? The dog wagging the tail or the tail wag?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also that goes along exactly with what I was saying because that's how taboos get formed and pushed and changed in society, and especially through television. I mean, that's a huge way to do it with this Overton window. You have a far extreme and then people freak out about it and then they're okay with stuff that wasn't okay before, like for example, one we just went through. I guess before it was probably, like say in the early 2000s or like whatever, we watched the show 6 Feet Under, and it takes place from like 2001 to 2005 or whatever. People being gay and trying to hide it and stuff, and then look at like the last few years where there's been all this push for things and like there's like pride parades and all these stuff going on, and it's more accepted, it's getting taught, and then you have like transgender stuff and all this other stuff, and then there's a certain group of there's like a part of the population or whatever that isn't excited about it, so then they freak out and they get their guy in, so then this extreme stuff on the end goes away, but now other stuff like gay marriage and it's okay to be gay. And again, I'm not making any judgments on any of this stuff. I'm just totally as like a commentator saying this is how it gets moved. So now out in public and stuff, it's all right to, it's more accepted, I guess. But you see how it went tipped so far one way and then people sprang back. But when it comes back to the new normal, there are new things that are accepted, is basically what I was saying. So that's just an example of, I think, what you'd see now. But who knows? Because sometimes it swings so far back. There are, this is something we didn't even talk about on our division episode and our pit and pedestal, but there's people looking, what do they call it, like a lynch mob, kind of like what's the exact word, but I don't know exactly, but oh yeah, witch hunt. People go like on a witch hunt, right? And then what used to be cool and in power and some people didn't like, now they go after it hardcore and they like try to wipe it out. So Who knows? It's all a delicate balance. But that's how Overton windows work, everybody, and the taboos in society. So that's why Sharon and I, when we look at things, and that's a great way that thing that she brought up is because, yeah, in this society, you can't walk around naked. But like when I was in Italy, people were naked on the beach, like so, and it was no big deal. Well, not totally naked, like people were topless and stuff, women were topless, but and it was perfectly acceptable, right? So it's just because how you're raised. Same thing in Italy, you can go into a bar and have a drink if you're like 15, like. But here you have to have like 8 forms of ID and your mom there to tell you that she's like to swear that you're 21. And so it's just the things that are accepted and taboos in society. And it's funny because we're all people, right? How did that work? So
Indeed.
yeah, how's the chat going now after my whole rant? You guys
It's
getting it?
good. My friend Kat is in
Oh, what's up,
at
Kat?
Katrina.
Cool. Yeah, so that's what that reminded me of when we were reading that the Overton window thing. And the way that Tao it works the same way. So you could just say that politics and taboo and society where they're just working off the Tao. But the thing is that most people in society aren't conscious of it. So it's like, mind control, government, right? That's why it means mind control because people are
Gubernare.
they're gubinare because they're dancing to the beat of someone else's drum. And then when you're dancing to the beat of your own drum, you look like you're insane. So that's all we're saying in a nutshell. At the end of the day, all right, take a drink, everyone. Let's see. Okay.
Second half of the verse.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. We're just cooking along here. All right, back up to the top. We're going to go over the second part of the verse. Those who try to control who use force to protect their power go against the direction of the Tao. Now, this is all about control.
Mm.
This word that you can't read now because it's dark. Control. Control. Now, what were we always talk about? What is control? Or what is attempting control? It's just because you're afraid. You have fear and you think that if
Attachments.
you can control it, everything will be okay and you're not going to get hurt and your outcome is going to happen. If you can control every little thing, it's going to work out the way I want. And when it doesn't, then you get mad, right?
Hmm.
And what are they saying here? They're just saying, let me bring it back up because then I can read the next part too. They're simply saying those who try to control, who use force to protect their power, go against the direction of the Tao. So you're going against the natural flow. They take from those who don't have enough and give to those who have far too much.
They do the opposite of the Tao.
And I would really even say they take from themselves and they give their energy to other people. And that could be like in a way that you can be energy vampired on. We need a term for that. You could be vamped on. So you could be allowing your energy to flow toward other people, and then and really what that means is just your attention. Because I feel like attention is the most powerful form of currency in this realm. And when you're focusing your attention on something, mostly unconsciously people do it, they don't even realize it, on something that isn't for your best and whatever. It's someone else and you're focusing on it. It doesn't mean that you can't focus your attention on other people and love other people and help other people. But what I mean is like when you have someone that's next to you and they're just telling you about all your problems. And what I used to do is I would just sit there and think about, well, how can I, what can they do? And I try to figure it out like it was this blacksmith's puzzle, these like pieces, and I try to give them all this advice. And then they just don't even, I found out that after years of doing this, you find they don't even really listen. They go out and do what they're going to do anyway. And they just were sucking your energy. They just wanted your attention to make themselves feel better. And you were uh or I was, letting out all my energy and just I'd be drained and then I wouldn't be able to work on the things I wanted to or whatever. I wouldn't be able to use my time
In a
valuably.
valuable way.
Valuably. It's like a valuably jubilee for myself. But anyway, so what I would what I would say to that really is keep the power for yourself, you know, give yourself love, give yourself the acceptance. Just accept the parts of you that you hate, right? I go back into preaching. We're preaching to ourselves. Raise your hand. God bless. Just accept those. Give them to Jesus. Accept those parts of yourself. And that's what happens. Then you give to yourself. And then when someone comes along and tries to energy vamp on you, you're just like, ah, man, that sucks, but what are you going to do, right? Right? Sucks. What are you going to do? And then you're like, and even if you could still comfort people and whatever, and talk to them, but inside you're like, you know what, this is this person's struggle. They have a unique set of circumstances, as we all do, in this realm, to help them either elevate their consciousness or sink it all the way down to get up to the next realm. And this is what they're going through. Isn't that cool? So you're just have this internal monologue, or if you want, or this is just how you're feeling, right? Instead of saying, "Oh, poor them, how can I help them?" and all this stuff. And really, this is the essence of what we're talking about. It's really just how you look at the world. And it really determines whether you're in heaven or hell right here. It's so crazy. That's what we found, everybody. Don't put us on a cross. Somebody already did that once to somebody that looked like me, and it wasn't a good time.
Oh my God.
No, he was black probably, or middle, whatever.
Oh
I'm just
my
gonna start saying
God.
he was green. Jesus was definitely green. You guys don't even know.
It ain't easy being green, as you
Was
know.
he was so green. All right. He went green like way before everybody went. All right. Um, that was just terrible. Oh yeah, I'm gonna share this again. I was putting some jokes together, so that was part of the one of my jokes about talking to a stoplight. All right. I'll tell later. Okay, so yes, those who try to control, we talked about that. They take and give. Okay, so the master, so we always talk about the master here. This is what we're trying to attain to be the master. The master can keep giving because there is no end to her wealth. She acts without expectation, succeeds without taking credit, and doesn't think that she is better than anyone else. And that
Mm,
this first part, the master can keep giving because there is no end to her wealth. It goes along with what I was just saying. If you're giving to yourself and you put yourself first, when those oxygen masks come down when you're on a plane because they lost cabin pressure, you put that mask on yourself first. And when you're doing that, and then you're able to help other people in a better way, right? You really just become the example to show them. But what they're saying right here is, then if you're doing this, there is no end to your power, right? Or there is no end to your wealth. You have those inner riches. She acts without expectation, succeeds without taking credit. And these are all simple things that they were talking about earlier in the Tao, and now they're putting them together. So now it's like an education. So you learned earlier, right? We learned things like think that you're better than anyone else, or succeeding without taking credit, or not having expectations. Like there was verses about that, and now they're taking those ideas and stacking them on top of each other, right? They're saying this is why she's the master. We live without expectation. It just means that you're not trying to control the outcome of the situation because of fear. You're just going to let it happen and adjust. You can have a plan of how you kind of want it to go and stuff, but deep down, as long as you know that you're the one, that you're not the author of this whole thing, it's God, and you're just trying to, you know, be
go with
your
the
piece
flow.
of the ocean, right? You're trying to be your wave in the ocean and not be the other wave or whatever. Yeah, so all right, I'm gonna take a sip of water. That was a lot.
My turn, or did you finish?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if I want to say anything else, and then I also did hear a weird noise. I'm trying to, because I'm home alone right now. I think it's the neighbor. So
Okay.
we were watching him. Here, I'll take a quick break. We could check the chat too. I was through this window. We could see, this is like our backyard, so we can kind of see the neighbors' backyards over here, and they have a shed, and it's all snow. Like you can't see it, but it's all snow and now ice because it's been below freezing for like a week. So everything, is just ice. And this guy in his car, and he's like driving, and we're like, it looked like he was gonna drive around the shed. We're like, what is he doing? And then he he got stuck, and then he was like terrible at driving in the snow, just like flooring it. You're like, zzz, back. It's an old guy too, really, really cool people. It was hilarious. And some kind of SUV. He had like some kind of like a Lexus. So it wasn't like a truck SUV. It was, more like a car or whatever SUV. So it wasn't as good in the snow. So finally he backed it up and then he just pulled it into the shed. I guess they were going to work on it, but it was the funniest thing. We're just watching him go in and out. And I forgot why I brought that up. Oh yeah, because the random noises. That's right. So every once in a while I'll hear random noises. I'm like, what's going on in that backyard? They're great though. They're Ukrainian old people. They're awesome. I got a family that always comes and visits them, so it's interesting to see how people live in other countries. Anywho, now we're gonna get hate mail from Ukraine. No. Um,
Next
oh, that's what
verse.
we're gonna do. Check the chat. Oh, nothing really going on. Just people hanging out. Be like water, Cat says. Yes, be like water. Tiki Olam, yes. Well, I mean,
What's
listen,
that? I
all
don't know what that is.
all these concepts have I forgot exactly which one that is, but I think that's the one about getting over on people or like like it's okay to be a wizard and like trick people kind of thing, because
Mm,
it's like they're not you're not forcing anyone to do something. When you get on a television and say all these things and people just do it, well, hey, they're the ones who just did it, right? That's the kind of viewpoint that I think he's talking about.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
actually, no, that's more of the we have to fix the world. That's what it is. The Tiki Olam, I think, is the belief that the world, there's something wrong with it, and we have to do all these things to fix it or something. I think so
Mm,
that people,
okay.
you know,
I don't know. We didn't say anything like that, did we? Because
I don't
sometimes he
know.
just says the most random stuff, so I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of goes along with what we're talking about with the world, like wanting to change the world and make it, or just accepting it. That's really what it comes down to. All right. So I read the
Oh,
second.
okay. Yeah, I just looked it up. It says so the AI from the browser replied and said, not replied, but that it shows that it says it's a Hebrew phrase that means repairing the world. It refers to actions aimed at improving society, promoting social justice, emphasizing the responsibility of individuals to contribute to the betterment of the world. Okay. I never even, if I heard that, I forgot.
It's something that people talk about when they're talking about that. That letter in the alphabet. I'm always like, truth is a journey from A to Z. And some people get stuck
Yes.
on that letter J. The J's,
Yes.
it's like a doctrine, that's supposedly, yeah.
Mm,
Anywho,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is actually. Next time I'll be like, I don't know, because I
I
really don't.
don't. I didn't.
See that
Cos-
I got caught. But that's how we're just trying to be an example to show. See, people, even we think that we know things and then realize we don't.
Cosmic Lichens Joe is in the chat. Hello.
Oh, what's up, Joe?
Yeah.
Ukrainian and Ukrainian in
I'm
Ukrainian.
Cranian. Ukrainian, I'm Cranian.
Oh, Ukrainian, I'm Ukrainian. All right. I was thinking of something else. All righty, righty, Rooney. So we got, oh, that's Cheryl. Let's go back up to the second part of this. All right.
All right. Second half of Dwight Goddard, verse 77. The human way is not so. And he's talking about what he just talked about in the first half. Men take from those who lack to give to those who already abound. Where is the man who by his abundance can best serve the world? He says that a little differently. The wise man makes but claims not. He accomplishes merit, yet is not attached to it. Neither does he display his excellence. Is it not so? Well,
Well,
Basically, very similar to what the other one said.
yeah, just in the 1920s, Bible-y kind of way. No.
Yeah. And this accomplishing merit, not being attached to it, and not displaying his excellence. It just makes me think of people who like nothing wrong with it, but like display their like trophies and things like that. And it's funny because I never resonated with like doing that. I Some months ago I was going through some boxes, and I found like these, like I found my diploma from college, and I found this other thing, and I'm just like, what do you do with this kind of stuff? So I mean, I put it up in the room, but like it's not like like clearly I hadn't put it up for years, so
Yeah, yeah.
clearly I
Yeah, I had
didn't
my
care.
my high school diploma. I was at my parents'. And I was like, "You guys can just keep it." They're like, "No, you should have it." I'm like, "I don't. If I gotta have to
We
prove I went to high school, is no one gonna believe me?" I'm like,
I know.
maybe. I mean, I could just say I went to the Marines, and then I think you have to. Well, I guess you can get a. Well, who knows these days? But when I was in, you needed to be a high school graduate, but you could get some kind of special, waiver, but it was hard.
GED.
Yeah, or a GED. Yeah. Um, let's see here. Yes, but they really wanted people to finish high school. They were pushing it. We wanted you to get all that government training before you come and get our government training. Allegedly, right? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. All right. So,
Well, what do we call it? Camp? What kind of camp? Indoctrination camp.
oh, kid prison? Oh, no. Sorry. Yeah, so you read that. Okay. Uh, what did I just say about the? Oh, I forgot. I wanted to
It's a
write it
pretty
down.
straightforward
It was about the Marines. Okay.
verse.
So the way of the ordinary person is not the way of the Tao. For such people take from those who are poor and give to those who are rich. The sage knows that his possessions are none, therefore he gives to the world. Yeah, so basically what they're saying, right? But it's a little
Oh,
different here. It's
I
more about
like that.
attachments and possessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes back to, the sage knows he doesn't really own anything, right? Therefore he gives to the world without recognition doing his work. And I think that's an important one too. That kind of goes with that whole thing that Cody was talking about because some people do charitable work and they want attention, they want eyes on them doing good things because in the background some of the things that they did weren't so good. So they just need good publicity. So they're like getting tax write-offs and throwing around money and it's not even really a big deal. But everyone thinks they're so great, right? But then there's other people who do things behind the scenes that no one knows about. And they might give millions of dollars, who knows, and no one even knows, and they just do it anonymously. And it's funny, I think that was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David donated a wing and he had it donated, and then Ted Danson, who's also an actor but a character on the show, playing himself as Ted Danson,
Yeah.
bought the wing, but he did it anonymously. So it was like, oh, but everybody knew it
It
was
was
him that
Ted.
did it anonymously, so they thought he was even more selfless.
Yeah. That's funny.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
that whole kind of thing. But and I even learned about this when I was in the whole born again Christian thing, where if you're gonna give money, just put in an envelope and give money. You don't have to like show it off or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, even but we've quoted it many times. I can't remember where exactly it is, but um even Jesus in the Bible says, don't go uh ringing bells to let everyone know that you're like praying or that you're donating or whatever you're doing. Like, you know, do it in the um privacy. Do it in privacy and don't go telling everybody.
That's right. Don't go telling everybody.
That's my paraphrase.
Don't go breaking my heart. Don't honk your own horn.
Yes.
Exactly. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. All right.
Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, exactly.
Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum,
Um,
bum.
mm, Okay, so I think, or is it in this way he accomplishes that which is required of him. So he's doing his job, he's doing his dharma without dwelling upon it in any way. He gives of his wisdom without display. So he's kind of just like the fool card, like we talked about, right? You don't think you're somebody in the world, right? You're not like, I'm somebody. You're just kind of like, I'm a part of this thing and we're doing our dance. And you know,
Doing our
doesn't mean you
thing.
have to destroy your ego and you could still have an ego and use it in proper balance. That's what it seems to me so far.
Yeah.
So whatever. I think that's kind of what he's saying here. Let's see. Kat says, have to admit, starting to remind me of Agenda 30. You won't own anything, but you'll be happy.
Well,
Yes,
but that's the funny part.
that is
You
the
own it
funny
in the
part.
first place.
You
Does
don't,
anybody own it in the first place?
right?
Like
Yeah. And
it's like they're trying to take away something from you, but it's never yours anyway.
yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's God's anyway. Go ahead. You have it. Because you know what? If you take it, you're gonna have to now deal with the karma of this object, whatever it was, or these possessions, because things have spirits and in karma and you know that's why you see on these TV shows you can see like hauntings and all this stuff and they I forgot where there was this one TV show where they would find an object in the house and they were like this is what's haunted and they're like okay and usually it was like an old antique and like we're gonna take it now and put it in our museum it's fine I'm like what the fuck like I think they're just stealing antiques but
Yeah.
it's like a bad episode of Scooby-Doo, but there's just no, teenagers and dog there to solve the mystery. It's just an evil person going where they're using like cotton swabs. No, anyway, so to make the ghosts, it's a reference. But anyway, what I was saying was, yeah, so objects could have, who knows, right? And it depends on how you view that and what lens. It doesn't mean like it's evil or haunted. It could just be because what people did to get that thing. They could have killed a lot of people or whatever. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting off in the deep end. What Sharon said was great because it is so true. You'll have nothing and like it, but that's already what we do. You'll have nothing, and if you can like it, then that's the secret. But it's just like an inversion. He's saying the same thing, but he's talking on the physical, right? He's taking a spiritual tenet you should own nothing, have no attachments, and you'll be happy. But he's pulling it into the physical and turning it into a demand. Like you're gonna have nothing, you'll own nothing and be happy. That's why it kind of scares people and resonates. It's like I think they don't understand the misappropriation that's going on, but it's still a powerful statement, right? So
Yeah.
good luck. I hope you got room for all these Pendleton shirts in your closet, Klaus Schwab. All right. Back
Shall I
to
read Dwight
front. Yeah,
Goddard?
and
Or
that's the thing
sorry.
that I'm sorry, go ahead. You go,
Go,
and then
no,
I'll
you go
go.
ahead.
I was just gonna say that's the thing that people don't understand. Like even in like in boot camp or wherever I was always making jokes. So like even if I get put in a FEMA camp, I'm just gonna be the comedian in the FEMA camp. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't and I feel like if you have that attitude, then you don't end up in a FEMA camp, like but if you're afraid of it or whatever your fear is, right? I'm just using the FEMA camp obviously because it's well, to some people it's funny, right? But I think that's what it is. If you just have this knowing that wherever you go, you're going to be okay because that's your plan. So I'll just be the funniest guy in the FEMA camp. I'll just be busting the guards' balls, and it'll be great. This funny guy. All right. Speaking of funny guy in the FEMA camp.
Where are we at now?
So the second part of Crowley right here.
Okay.
Crowley.
I feel like I'm lost because I'm like, where are we at? All right. Not so is the way of man who taketh away from him that I'm just going to try to read this in plain English, guys. Not so is the way of man who takes away from he that does not have to give to him that already has excess. Who can employ his own excess to the weal, WEAL, of all under heaven? And I found the definition of this word. It means the well being, prosperity, or happiness But obsolete, it means wealth or riches. So I don't know which one it's referring to. Let's just see real quick. To the weal of all under heaven. I guess to the well-being or the prosperity of all under heaven.
Yeah, I like that word wheel. That's cool.
Yeah, he uses all these old words, so sometimes we have to go look them up.
It's like to the
Um,
benefit of all, right? To the
mhm.
wheel of all.
Yeah, benefit, prosperity, happiness. So, like, who of us basically can employ our own excess, our riches, our wealth, right?
Our
To the
bounty.
benefit of everyone under heaven. I don't think anyone can, right? That's the point. Wow. Only except for he who possesses the Tao. And that's because he's not doing something with physical riches, right?
Exactly. In a way you could look at this, and of course this is just our interpretation, but you can say that you're benefiting the world by accepting it. You know, you benefit the world by looking at it as something that's not scary. You actually benefit it. And that's the best thing you could do. It's better than trying to donate all your money in hard time and whatever, but you take your extra attention, whatever attention you're using, and then you just view the world as perfect. And of course, you could look at this verse, at this part of the verse, even in other ways too, but I think that's a pretty fair interpretation.
Hmm. Yeah. So the wise man acts without lust of result,
Yeah.
achieves and boasts not. He wills not to proclaim his greatness. Yeah, just like we were talking about earlier, you're doing things um without ringing the bells, like my mom says.
All right. Ring the bells. Nice. Awesome. So how you doing over there?
Good.
Think you could tackle another one?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, you sound pretty good. It didn't seem too bad. All right, so next we're gonna do verse 78. Looks a little shorter. And let's see. We're gonna go through and read them again, and then we'll break it on down. So verse 78, the Stan Rosenthal, or sorry, Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Oh, there you go, Kat. There
Wow.
you go.
Be water cat.
Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart because he has given up helping, He is people's greatest help. Oh, no, let me read that again. Because he has given up helping, he is people's greatest help. He is people's greatest help.
Yep.
True words seem paradoxical.
Mm. Dwight Goddard entitles verse 78 Trust and Faith. In the world, nothing is more fragile than water. And yet, of all the agencies that attack hard substances, nothing can surpass it. Of all things, there is nothing that can take the place of Tao. By it, the weak are conquerors of the strong, the pliable are conquerors of the rigid. In the world, we learned about that in a couple verses ago, right?
Yep. I was
In the
gonna say it
world,
sounded real familiar. It sounded real familiar.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the world, everyone knows this, but none practice it. Therefore, the wise man declares, he who is guilty of the country's sin may be the priest at the altar. He who is to blame for the country's misfortunes is often the empire's sovereign. True words are often paradoxical.
True words are often paradoxical, Mr. Dwight Goddard. All right.
Wow. Stephen Mitchell and Dwight both pretty much said it very similarly.
Sincerity. Stan Rosenthal from 1984 entitles this Sincerity. There is nothing more yielding than water. Yet when acting on the solid and strong, its gentleness and fluidity have no equal in anything. The weak can overcome the strong, and the supple overcome the hard. Although this is known far and wide, few put it into practice in their lives. Although seemingly paradoxical, the person who takes upon himself the people's humiliation is fit to rule, and he is fit to lead, who takes the country's disasters upon himself. Oh,
Mm. Well, he puts it differently,
yeah.
maybe to aid us in understanding the paradox. Well,
Yeah, he puts
Aleister,
the paradoxical word at the beginning of the second verse.
yeah,
Hmm.
Aleister Crowley from 1918 entitles us A Creed. Nothing in the world is more elastic and yielding than water, yet it is preeminent to dissolve things rigid and resistant. There is nothing which can match it. All men know that the soft overcometh the hard, and the weak conquereth the strong, but none are able to use this law in action. A wise man hath said, he that taketh on the burden of the state is a demigod worthy of sacrificial worship. And the true king of a people is he that undertaketh the weight of their sorrows. Truth appeareth paradox.
Mm. So they all use the word paradox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yes.
again, I like how you noticed they're repeating some themes here again in the later verses. So that must have been an important one because it was not too long ago. I probably in the 60s, I think that verse that you're talking
I
about.
would say it was,
Maybe 70s?
yeah, the one of the last verses we just did about hard and soft,
Oh yeah.
right? Weak and it's like weak and strong because we were thinking the word weak was it seemed like it was,
Oh yeah, it wasn't being used. It was more like weak words.
yeah, I can't find it, but it was recent.
All right, I'm gonna bring these
Anyway,
up. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
shall we do one half at a time?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so Stephen Mitchell from 1988. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Now, water is one of these esoteric concepts that you're going to come after time and time again. It's an element. It's one of the four elements, and they're just really describing what it's like here, right? So, soft and yielding as water. There's nothing that you're going to find. But yet, for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. So it's very paradoxical, right? It's this substance that it's so yielding and so soft, it like goes across, it like goes over the edge, right? It's so yielding and soft that it actually is the best destroyer for things. Now, you do need time. I mean, I guess unless you put it into great pressure and there's
Yeah.
like water saws and cutters and stuff that they use to cut things
Hmm.
with water. So it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about that
Erosion
esoterically,
over time.
feelings. Oh, sorry. So, like, if you think about what water means esoterically, like feelings. So, feelings are this resilient, like your inner, the way you, the way that you communicate through feelings and stuff like that. That way that water works. This is what they're describing. It's soft and yielding. If you think about lovers and loving, but the bond is so strong, right? Nothing can break that bond. If people are working on themselves and all this stuff and realize the stuff that we talk about here, really nothing can break that bond. It's so strong. Nothing from the outside anyway. It has to be something from within. All right. And same thing with self-love. I should say that.
Hmm.
The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true. So that's like the tortoise and the hare. Kind of reminds me of that. And then also, I think the verse we were thinking about was like born when things are born, they're soft and supple. When they die,
Yes.
they're hard. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what they're talking about, right? So everyone knows it's true, but few can put it into practice. It's because it's so paradoxical, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense unless you really stop to think about it, unless your actions are really based on what you want to do, from the inside, and you're not like unconsciously just following scripts and going along with society or whatever. So that's really, I think, what it's not as paradoxical when you're living more and you're being more true to yourself, and it's easier to put this into practice because you could see it. It's kind of like I forgot what the concept is called, but it's like delayed wealth, or what do they call that? So a lot of people go for the instant thing, right? Instead of,
Gratification.
yeah, delayed gratification. Exactly. It's just like delayed gratification. It's the same kind of thing, right? People don't put into practice because they want the rewards sooner. So in this one, it's kind of like you're putting it into practice because it doesn't seem like it's going to work out right away, but you already know this is how it works, and you have faith in the way things are.
Water erodes rock over
Yeah,
time.
exactly, over time. So
Um, it also made me think of um the Bible verse that talks about the soft answer um takes away wrath, or the soft response takes away wrath. So that the soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the hard. So somebody, like if somebody's yelling at you and they're angry, like if your response is gentle instead of like yelling back, who wins, you know? Not that there's a winner, but like you can overcome that hardness and that rigidity in someone by just being soft and gentle yourself.
exactly. Hey, what's up, Emerson? Howdy, late to the party. Will enjoy the rerun. Yay. Yay. No, you're exactly right with that one, Sharon. Spot on. All right. So let's share the Dwight Goddard. Could it be? Here you go.
Dwight Goddard from 1919 entitles it Trust and Faith. In the world, nothing is more fragile than water, and yet, of all the agencies, the attack, oh, sorry, of all the agencies that attack hard substances, nothing can surpass it. We just talked about how that works. Of all things, there is nothing that can take the place of Tao. Okay, so he says something a little differently in this one. By it, the weak are conquerors of the strong. The pliable are conquerors of the rigid. In the world, everyone knows this, but none practice it. What do you think he means by none practice it?
I think that in the world, so they're talking about in the physical plane, so the people, when they say if you're in the world, not of it, and basically what I mean is if you're beating
A
take
dead
two in
horse?
action. If you're marching to the beat of the drum of society, it's like what I said earlier, then you are not doing the delayed gratification thing, right? So um you're working along with the way that things should seem to go. It's like, well, it should go this way. I'm in the physical. Like, if I put in all this hard effort, then it should work out. All this hard work, right? And what you don't realize is that if you just, how's he say it exactly here? The pliable conquers the rigid. If you realize that, then you take time to set things up and do it right. because you're not worried about what people in society are saying to you. You're not worried about all those outside influences. You are following intuition because you know that although you seem like you're crazy because you're dancing to the beat of your own drum, that you're not crazy. I'm not crazy. In an institution, you're the one who's crazy. It's a song. In an institution, you're driving me crazy. So I think that's really what they're talking about in essence here. And that's why he says no one practices it in the world because people that are out in the world are going along with society, right? And it
Got
doesn't
it.
mean that
Makes
nobody
sense.
has delayed gratification and, it
Yeah.
just means overall, right? Like it's a
The
blanket statement.
general, the general public.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. All right. I'll bring this back up. Yeah, pretty much saying the same thing, but like, I like that little deviation there. Get some clarification on the verse. Okay. Stan Rosenthal, sincerity. There is nothing more yielding than water. Yet, when acting on the solid and strong, its gentleness and fluidity have no equal in anything. So, pretty much the same thing, just in a different way.
Hmm.
The weak can overcome the strong, and the supple overcome the hard. Although this is known far and wide, few people put it into practice in their lives. I like this way because he's just making statements, right? Or not making claims, really, right? Because he's saying the weak can overcome. It doesn't mean it always does, right? He's just saying the weak can overcome the strong and the supple overcome the hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less of a declarative thing,
Yeah.
and known far and wide, few people. So he's not saying everyone knows it and no one does it. He's saying far and wide it's known. So most people know it and not many people put it in their lives. So yeah, but pretty much the same thing.
All right. Aleister Crowley from 1918, A Creed. Nothing in the world is more elastic and yielding than water, yet it is preeminent to dissolve things rigid and resistant. Don't they call it the universal solvent?
Yeah,
Is that what they call water?
yeah, I believe so.
There is nothing which can match it. All men know that the soft overcometh the hard, and the weak conquereth the strong, but none are able to use this law in action. So,
Yep,
very similar, just different words.
that's right, Al. All right, I'll come up here to the second part then. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. So I think I don't remember exactly where they talked about this before. You just remain serene, and it's like what we've been saying this whole episode,
Calm.
right? You're not giving your energy to the world because you're worried and you're upset and you're freaking out and anxious. You just remain serene. You remain calm. You're like, all right, this is the way things are supposed to be because this is the way that they are. And the sooner I accept it, the sooner my suffering stops. That's what the Buddha says, basically. All right. Evil cannot enter his heart because he has given up helping. He is people's greatest help. Two
Hmm.
words seem paradoxical. So this part, evil cannot enter his heart. And that's the secret to not letting evil enter your heart.
Remain serene in the midst of sorrow.
Yeah, the evil that they're talking about is just a way of seeing the world, right? So you're seeing the world as a victim. That means you're viewing it, you're letting evil into your heart, is another way to say that, right? That's just the Old Testament way to say it. But we here on the Over Sharon show realize that there's different way to say different things, just like in the beginning quote that we quoted. Should bring that back up. Everyone interprets everything in terms of his own experience. That's what they said in the beginning quote, right? So these words are going to interpret evil in their heart. They're going to think it's like Satan coming through because that's what they were taught in school or in church and all this. I was thinking of Catholic school, about the devil. But really, what is it? Evil letting in your heart? It's just letting yourself view things as a victim. Be like, no, you really are a victor. You're not a victim. You're a victor. Or you just stay in the middle. You say, you know what? I'm just a casual observer. I'm just watching other people go through their trials. Doesn't make me any better or any worse, right? I feel like that's what they're saying here.
Mm.
And then the other part here, where I don't have to exactly share it here because we could still talk. Because he has given up on helping, he is people's greatest help. And that's, because he accepts that the world is perfect. That's basically what they're saying. You accept that it's perfect, so you're not giving your sorrow and your attention and stuff to people in that way and feeling bad for them. You're just like, all right, they're just going through their trials. You're not feeling bad for them. And in that way, you're acknowledging that they're on an equal playing field as you. They're just another consciousness. They're not any better or worse. Because when you're saying they can't handle this, and again, this is all in a spiritual level we're talking about, because there's evil things that happen in the world. But if you're looking at a war-torn area and you're like, this is terrible, when you're looking at it through a spiritual lens, you could say to yourself, these are the trials that these people are given in this life to go through. In that way, right? Not being a victim, and you're not trying to help them. You gave up on helping them, and now you are their greatest help because you accept their plight for what it is. And you might not even be able to realize it, right, on a regular level. But it does remind me a lot of when people tell you you can't make fun of, like, you can't make fun of Chinese people if you're white. It's just not. It doesn't. It's just wrong. You can't do that. Well, then I would say, well, when you say you can't make fun of somebody, you're kind of saying that they can't handle it and that they can't take it and that they're less of a
Mm-hmm.
person than you are. And then you could take it if I can make fun of you. It's kind of weird in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh,
Why are you getting offended for other people?
yeah, that too. Casual outrage or whatever they call it. So yeah. And then true words seem paradoxical. I mean, there's really nothing to say there. It's just a statement like you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, because he has given up helping, he is people's greatest help. I love that. I always remember um in a book that I read called Boundaries. It's probably might be up there somewhere. Um the like the preface or the beginning of the book, somebody is talking about, I don't know who wrote the beginning, but it was talking about how this family came to this man for advice, and like a, I don't know what, he was a therapist or something. And they were like, "Oh, our son XYZ, and we've tried everything. We've given him everything he needs, and he still doesn't want to go to school, and he doesn't want to do XYZ, and he's just being lazy, and he's this." And basically they were trying to insist that they've been trying to help, quote, help him. And basically what I got from it was like, well, is your help really helping?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the help helping? Because clearly it's not.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're helping. No, you're not.
We're trying to help. So,
Exactly. We're just trying.
shall I try reading? Shall I read Dwight Goddard?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
Therefore, the wise man declares, he who is guilty of the country's sin. Now, this is all different than what Stephen Mitchell said. He who is guilty of the country's sin may be the priest at the altar. He who is to blame for the country's misfortunes is often the empire's sovereign. True words are often paradoxical. Yeah, he's saying something quite different here than
Yeah,
Stephen Mitchell did.
I would say he's basically let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna look at this again by the week composition. Um oh, so interesting here.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I guess he's just talking about because they've talked about this is like the other side because they've talked in the Tao before about how to lead a country. So this is really just the other side of it, kind of um, blaming the the wise man says that it could be the priest, right?
Yeah, the
And the
priest.
emperor himself,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
Empire Sovereign. But so esoterically, what can this mean, right? It's not the outside influences of the world, it's the inner, I guess you could say ego or whatever, or whatever force is in control inside you, dear listener. That's what they're saying. It could be that they're the ones. It's like it's not the people out there in the world. You can't blame them for all your problems. You can only blame yourself. That's kind of how I
Yeah.
see it. An esoteric view, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Think of the country as your own, let's just say your own body or your own actions.
mm,
And who is the priest of your altar,
mm-hmm.
right? And same with like, your country's misfortunes, like think of your person, your body, yourself as the country and your misfortunes. Who's to quote blame for that but yourself, the sovereign of your body?
As above, so below. It's like the Hierophant card.
Yeah.
Amazing grace, everybody. Let me tell you.
Mm.
All right. Did you read the last part?
I think I read it all, right?
True words are often paradoxical. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. All right, Stan Rosenthal, the second part here, right here, although seemingly paradoxical. So he says in the beginning, as we noted earlier, the person who takes upon himself the people's humiliation is fit to rule. So basically, he's saying the same thing. The person who takes the all the blame and hate and the humiliation really of the people is the one who's fit to rule, not the one who says that's not my fault. What do you hear?
Mm-hmm.
What do we hear in American politics a lot, right? It's that guy's
Not
fault. No
my
matter what side you're
problem.
on, it's that girl's fault or that guy's fault, right? They're all what are they doing? Pointing the finger. Is there anyone that's
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know what, guys, this is all my fault?
I'll
When's the
take the
last time you heard a
blame.
president say that, right? This is all my fault. I did it. I made the wrong decisions. I took the money from that country over there.
I slept with that woman.
I had sexual relations with that woman, right? Hey, no, no, it's all I did not. I do. It's their fault. She made me do it. He's evil. She's the devil. Okay. All right. I think I've heard this song and dance before, and it was one time when I went out and did things I didn't want to, and I was like, it was their fault, everyone. Nope, it was my fault. That's the esoteric way to look at it, right? Same thing. Cool. I like it. We're really breaking ground here.
Keep reading. I don't think did you finish reading it?
Oh, yeah, let's see. Oh, yeah, no, I didn't. And he is fit to lead, who takes the country's disasters upon himself. Same thing. There's a natural disaster, and people get all screwed over in New Orleans. Remember that way years ago? 20 years ago now, 20 something years ago. Everyone's like, it's his fault, it's their fault. No, nobody was like, it's my fault, everybody. I was the one who knew it could happen, and I just took the money and I bought cocaine and hookers, and I just didn't do anything
Ignored it.
about the levees or whatever. And sorry, guys, it was all my fault. He would have been a hero, right? Only one, I think, one mayor, Marion Barry. He was the mayor of Washington, D.C. in the 80s. He was caught on tape smoking crack. He was caught on film. That's the kind of country we live in, everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's a party country. What are you gonna do? I'm not mad about it. It's great. All right.
All right. Well, final half of Aleister Crowley, verse 78. A wise man hath said, he who taketh on the burden of the state is a demigod worthy of sacrificial worship.
Yeah.
And the true king of a people is he who undertakes the weight of their sorrows. Truth appears to be paradox.
I mean, this kind of reminds me of what's going on right now. this talk of demigods, you take on the burden of the state, and really what that means is you're up there and you're like, I know what it's like, everybody. These things affected me too. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna do it all for us. Right? That's the one way. It's all their fault. We're gonna change it. Uh, that's the one who taketh on the burden of the state. But the true king of a people is he undertake the weight of their sorrows, right? You undertake the weight. So that is more like what Stan Rosenthal said, right? You take responsibility and ownership of the things that are going on, the bad things too, and the good things.
Hmm.
And when do we ever see that in politics? For real, people pretend to do it all the time, but like for real season, when are they like, yeah, that was there was hookers and sorry guys, I spent all the budget on, you know, I took the money from that country and kissed the wall. I'm sorry. All right. But again, we're not pointing fingers because it's the way the world works and it has to be that way. You need that resistance. It's the way everything works. And when you look at it as not being a victim, then you can be your own creator and really live in your own quote unquote world,
Woiled.
in your own world, in your own realm, right next to everyone else. They could see you. It's like you're in a glass house. Huh. So don't throw stones, right? See all these little bits of wisdom coming back. Because it is like we are all in little glass houses. We could see what's going on. But in our house, and that's wherever you go, you could make it heaven. No, like I said, in a FEMA camp, I'm going to be the funniest guy there. I'm going to be getting double rations from the guards because they're going to be laughing. So, so really, that's what it's about. You take your glass house, and when you have a glass house, throwing stones is really just, pointing the finger. You're pointing the finger at people. So as you're in this glass house, how can you fix it up and make your own glass house better? And people could see that because it's a glass house and they're in the glass house too. So they could see you're in there fixing it. So they're gonna see you're fixing it, so they can't really get attention from you if they're a negative kind of person. So they'll just go away. And if they're not, they're gonna see what you're doing, and maybe it'll change their life because they'll start doing some things like that, or it'll just inspire them to start cleaning their house in their own way. And in that way, you're not trying to help the world, but you're the world's greatest help, right?
Indeed.
Indeed. That's it, right? We did it all.
We did it.
We did it. Yeah. Truth appeareth
Truth.
paradox. Whoops.
Truth.
Truth appeareth paradoxiceth. Yeah, we did it, everybody. Three more to go, right?
Yeah.
79, 80,
Three,
81. Yeah, okay.
3 more verses to
We are
go.
3 verses away from
Thanks for
completing
joining
the
us,
Tao.
guys. I was more quiet today because I'm trying to rest my voice a little bit.
Yeah, she was a little under the weather, but we powered through, and I just did what I always love to do, is just talk. So that's no. You want me to talk more? I don't know if I could. Hang on, let me think
Let
about
me
it.
muster up some courage here.
You mean you want me to talk more? I don't. Sure. No, uh like Briar Rabbit, right? Don't throw me into the briar patch. It's a
Don't.
story of
How
a
dare you?
rabbit, I think, that gets grabbed by a bear or something. He's like, no, don't throw me into
Brer
the
Rabbit.
thorn.
I think it's Brer, B R
Briar,
E
yeah, it's
R.
probably Briar, right?
Yeah, but they are briar patches too, so
Yeah.
I don't know which
Brr,
one's
it's
Brer and which one's
Berenstain, all right,
briar.
Sharon.
Yeah.
It's
Stein or
Berenstein.
Stain
It's
or Steen.
Berenstein, okay? And they immigrated here from a country and we love them.
Stein.
And we're gonna buy. No, all right, we love everybody, guys. We just like to joke around.
Schwartz. The Power of the Schwartz. I watched it yesterday.
Yes, Sharon's
Finally.
finally seen Spaceballs. Amazing. A Druish princess. They're like, oh great, a Druish princess or whatever.
She doesn't look Druish.
Oh yeah, funny. She doesn't look Druish. That's what it was. And I love the part where he's like, when they're in the desert and
The comb, the pick.
Well, that part, yeah, but the other part in the desert where they're carrying all their stuff and they open up her suitcase and there's a
Yes.
giant hair dryer. And
Yeah.
he's like, I told you to take only what you need to survive. And she's like, it's my industrial strength hair dryer and I can't live without it. I never got that until now I have long hair. No, I don't blow
Yeah.
dry my hair. I just, you guys watched it dry today. I podcast dry my hair. How do you dry your hair? Well, I watched it before I podcast and then the podcast gives it this nice dry feel. It's like a shampoo commercial.
I've just got to say, I don't miss it.
All the hair, yeah. Well, it's different for me because I haven't had it my whole life, so it's still a
Still
novelty.
fresh and new and novel for
Yeah.
you.
I still get it caught in the car window.
Oh,
Like
I used to get it caught freaking everywhere. Those chairs in elementary school, like that had the rivets on them in the back. You turn and it just like catches.
those kid prisons.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, yeah, thanks everybody for hanging around. And
Yeah.
for people in the future, thank you guys for watching this. Make sure if you enjoyed it, you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you like us. You don't have to, though. We don't, you know what? Don't
You know,
subscribe.
we're staying at around 811, which 812, which is, 811 is one of my number. I see 811 all the time. So we're currently at 812 holding. So
Yeah. So thanks for being one of the select few. That's how we look at it. This show is occulted, and it's not hidden by George Soros or any of those guys. It's just hidden from people by their own interests, right?
mm,
They're interested in who got the documents and this and that, and that's fine. It's cool. You want to look into all these things, but we always say that the true work really in the rabbit holes you should be going down, or that we found that we enjoy going down, or most beneficial to us, are the ones of self-exploration and self-love and getting to know yourself and stuff like that.
mm.
There's so much information you could look at and rabbit holes you can go down. I mean, Myers-Briggs, the tarot, all kinds of stuff,
Oh
occult
yeah.
writings, symbolism, movies. So all these things we say those are the rabbit holes that we encourage people to go down. That's
Yep.
right. All right, and
And
go
we'll
ahead.
be going down new rabbit holes soon.
That's
So
right. That's right, everybody. This Tao Te Ching rabbit hole, we're almost at the bottom. We almost came out in China. We dug a hole all the way to China, everybody.
this pill makes you larger,
This one pill makes you larger. Yeah, I was thinking
and
that.
we're
And this
about to
one
get
makes you
perfect
small.
size just to come right out of that rabbit hole.
That's right. We're gonna pop out and we're gonna know all about it. Yeah, so more laws, more problems, guys. That's the website. If you'd like to find more about the Over Sharon Show, click on the Over Sharon tab. You can support us there financially through a few different ways, or we always say the best way to support us is to come here every Thursday and hang out in the chat while we're live or premiering these episodes. Um, Shout out to everybody who did that. Thank you guys sticking around all the way to the end. We always have, we might not have the most views of videos on the internet, but we have really high retention rates. So that's good. We're excited about that. It means that you guys are watching it all the way through. Some people might click on and just hear our lovely voices and go away. But most of you guys are sticking around to the end, which is great. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right.
That's right. And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just telling you how to live a more well balanced life.
That's
What
right,
do you say?
everybody. Well balanced. Thanks a lot. Shout out to Summer, just came in here. Blue Kachina. Thank you guys. You are part of the best audience ever. Shout out to Emerson. Cody was in here earlier. Joe.
Cat,
Uh,
spoons.
yes. Spoons. Yes.
Yep.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Ciao. Have a
All
good
right.
weekend.
Ciao.